The night was still, the kind of stillness where you could hear the hum of the refrigerator, the faint rattle of an old heater, and the laughter of a family trying to hold onto something ordinary. Inside a modest two-bedroom home on the east side of town, the Johnson family sat around their small wooden table. The meal wasn't fancy. Rice, green beans, and chicken thighs. Malik had helped his mother season. But for them, it was a moment of peace. Lorraine Johnson, a tired but proud woman in her 40s, smiled as she watched her two children eat. Her son Malik, 21, sat at the head of the table, his shoulders squared with a quiet strength. His younger sister Keisha, just 11, giggled as she told a story about a boy in class who had pulled her braids. "Next time he tries that," Malik said, rolling his eyes, "you tell him your big brother's gonna come down there and set him straight." Keisha laughed harder. Lorraine shook her head, but her smile lingered. For one moment they felt whole, safe. But safety is fragile, and peace doesn't last forever. The sound came suddenly. Tires screeching, doors slamming, boots pounding against pavement. Before anyone could process it, bang! The front door flew open, ripped from its hinges. Flashlights and red-blue lights pierced the living room. Armed officers stormed inside, shouting commands that filled the air like thunder. "Down on the ground! Hands where we can see them!" Keisha screamed. Lorraine clutched her chest, her fork clattering onto her plate. Malik froze, his fork still in his hand. His mind spun, unable to comprehend what was happening. In seconds, two officers had him pinned against the wall. His arms were twisted behind his back, the bite of cold metal digging into his wrists. Wait, what's going on?" Malik stammered. "I didn't do anything." His mother's voice cracked with desperation. Please, you've got the wrong boy." Keisha cried so hard she could barely breathe. "He didn't do anything." But none of it mattered. In the eyes of the officers, Malik Johnson wasn't a son, a brother, or a student. He was a suspect, a headline, and that night, in front of the only people who truly knew him, he was dragged out of his own home, accused of a crime he did not commit. To understand the weight of that moment, you have to know who Malik was before the world painted him guilty. Malik wasn't a perfect kid, but he was good. He was real. He was the kind of young man you'd see shooting hoops at the park, sweating under the hot sun while trading jokes with his friends. The kind of guy who worked the evening shift at the grocery store, bagging groceries with a smile, then came home with sore feet but still helped Keisha with her math homework. He had dreams, simple but strong. He wanted to go back to community college, maybe study business. His vision was to one day open a barbershop. A man should own something of his own, his uncle used to say, and those words stuck like gospel. Malik wasn't chasing fame. He wasn't chasing wealth. He just wanted stability. He wanted his mother to stop worrying about bills every month. He wanted Keisha to have opportunities he never did. Lorraine worked long hours as a nursing aide. The job paid little and demanded everything. Her back, her feet, her spirit. Malik hated watching her come home exhausted, but she never complained. She had sacrificed everything to raise them, and Malik carried an unspoken promise to give her something back. His friends called him the quiet one. He didn't start fights. He wasn't reckless. He was cautious, careful, sometimes stubborn, sure, but at his core he had a good heart. That good heart was about to be tested in ways he could never have imagined. The morning after his arrest, Malik's world changed again. His face was plastered across the evening news. His mugshot stared back coldly from TV screens and social media feeds. Neighbors whispered behind closed doors. Coworkers who once greeted him with a smile suddenly turned their backs. Strangers online who had never met him decided they already knew his story. They all do this kind of stuff. Another thug off the streets. I'm not surprised. Not surprised. Two words that cut deeper than handcuffs ever could. It didn't matter that Malik had never held a gun in his life. It didn't matter that he was home the night of the robbery, eating dinner with his family. None of that mattered. What mattered was how he looked. And in the eyes of society, a young black man fit the story better than the truth ever would. While Malik sat in a cell, His family carried their prison on the outside. Lorraine walked to work with her head bowed, avoiding the stares of people who once called her neighbor. Keisha went to school and overheard classmates whispering cruel things about her brother. Bet he did it. Figures. His type always does. She tried to fight back, but she was just 11. The words burrowed deep. She cried at night when she thought no one could hear her. Lorraine sold her wedding ring to pay for a lawyer. She skipped meals to save money for court fees. Every night, she prayed for strength. But every morning, the weight seemed heavier. Inside, Malik struggled too. The cell was cold, the food tasteless. Nights were endless, filled with the sound of distant shouts and the clanging of bars. But what haunted him most wasn't the cell. It was the silence, the emptiness of knowing the world had already decided he was guilty. His lawyer told him the truth. Proving innocence is harder than proving guilt. The police said a witness placed him near the scene. They said his profile matched. They said too much to make it sound believable. But Malik knew he hadn't done it. "I was home," he told his lawyer. "I was with my family." The lawyer nodded, but his eyes looked tired, like he'd heard it all before. Months passed before Malik saw the inside of a courtroom. The boy who once dreamed of a barbershop looked like a man fighting for his life. The prosecution painted him as dangerous. They said he matched the description. Tall, slim, black. They said he had a motive, financial struggles. They said he was seen running near the scene. The jury listened. The judge nodded, and Malik's heart sank. But then, a twist. The defense pressed the witness. "Are you sure you saw my client?" The witness hesitated. Their story wavered. Another crack appeared. A detective's timeline didn't add up. Cross-examination revealed inconsistencies in his notes. And then came the grainy surveillance video. It wasn't perfect. The image was blurry. But the figure on screen was shorter than Malik, built differently. The jury leaned in. The courtroom buzzed. For the first time in months, hope flickered. The trial stretched on, day after day, twist after twist. Lorraine sat through every minute, clutching her Bible, whispering prayers. Keisha squeezed her brother's hand whenever she was allowed near him. And finally, the verdict came. The courtroom held its breath. On the charge of armed robbery, we find the defendant not guilty. Gasps, silence, then tears. Lorraine collapsed into her seat, sobbing with relief. Keisha ran into her brother's arms, clinging to him like she'd never let go. Malik stood there, stunned. Free. But freedom doesn't erase scars. When Malik walked out of the courthouse, the sun hit his face like a blessing. Reporters shouted questions, cameras flashed, but he barely heard them. He looked at his mother, at his sister, at the sky above him. He had lost time. He had lost friends. He had lost the innocence of believing the system would protect him. But he had not lost himself. Malik didn't disappear after his release. He couldn't. He knew his story wasn't just his. It belonged to everyone who had ever been judged by appearance, by assumption, by prejudice. He began speaking out at schools, at community centers, at church events. He told young people his truth. They can call you guilty before you open your mouth. But don't let the world define you. Hold on to your truth. Hold on to your hope. He still dreamed of owning that barbershop. And one day he did. A small corner shop with a faded red sign. A row of chairs and laughter filling the air. It wasn't much, but it was his. His mother smiled when she walked through the door. His sister bragged to her friends. And Malik? He cut hair, told stories, and reminded people every single day that sometimes redemption isn't about erasing the storm. It's about surviving it. Malik's story is not just about injustice. It is about resilience. It is about a family that refused to stop fighting. It is about a young man who discovered that even when the world calls you guilty, the truth can still set you free. He walks forward, scarred, but stronger. And with each step, he reminds us all that redemption is real, that justice, though fragile, is worth fighting for, and that hope, even in the darkest nights, can never be taken away.